Your refund is simply based on IRS code and what you made and what you paid in all year. Some deductions as well as some credits that you can apply for as well if you fall into a category of somebody who can get those credits or deductions. If you're in a situation like that, then those are some additional things you can do. But it's pretty clear, cut and dry. There are very few gray areas when it comes to credits, deductions, refund. What you get is what you're going to get. When you start hearing people say, I can maximize your refund, I can help you get more, I can do this, I can do that, usually that's an indicator of somebody who is trying to skirt the law. And a lot of times how they're helping people maximize their refunds is by doing something that's illegal. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't legitimate legalized things out there that a preparer could be doing to help you increase your refund or get more back. But one of the things that I have noticed in this industry is a lot of times the professionals who are real professionals who are not scamming don't use language like I can get you the biggest refund, I can maximize your refund. Typically, the people who are saying that are people who are fraudsters. Sometimes they are ghost preparers. And if you've never heard that term, a ghost preparer is basically somebody who will have you complete a return, or they'll do the return for you, and then they don't actually sign at the bottom of the 1040. They put your signature there. So you sign that you completed your own return. A lot of people don't realize that that's what they're doing when they work with some of these individuals. In fact, the preparer's information is supposed to be on that return, and that's what's supposed to be getting submitted to the IRS. But that doesn't always happen. So you want to make sure that, again, you're working with somebody who's not going to be putting fraudulent things on your return. And you want to make sure that you are working with somebody who is going to be signing the return at the bottom. And you can find this if you go to your 1040, look for the 1040 form. At the bottom of that form, you will see the preparer's information, and it'll have like the P10 and stuff in there, signature, that kind of thing. So all that would be at the bottom. If you don't see any of that and your signature is there, or it's all left blank, that's an indicator that you're probably working with a ghost preparer. So those are the first two things that I would say be paying attention to, because if working with someone like that, that's not somebody you want to work with. So someone refund focused, also someone who is not signing the return. The third thing I want to talk about is a percentage of the refund. So if they're saying, hey, I can help you get more back and I'll take a percentage of that refund, well, that's actually not allowed. Now, the cases in which it is allowed that someone can get a percentage of like a refund, or it's not really a refund, but they can get a percentage of your savings, that's in resolution work. So if you owe a large amount of money to the IRS, over $15,000 usually. If you owe over $15,000 and you're working with a professional and the professional is helping you to resolve it, let's say you owed $40,000, instead of having to pay $40,000, they're able to get that down to like $10,000. Well, they actually can get a percentage of the savings. So in a situation like that, it's legal. But if it's for return purposes specifically, they're not supposed to get a percentage of your refund. So someone who is saying, I'll get a percentage of your refund by helping you get a bigger refund, is also somebody that you want to stay away from. And the last thing I want to talk to you about when it comes to what to look for in terms of who not to work with is if you recognize on your return, you're getting a really big refund. I'm talking about refunds again, but in a different way. If you're working with someone who helps you get a bigger refund than you have normally gotten in the past. Now, there have been some law changes for 2025 that I have seen some clients actually are getting big refunds. In fact, I had a client who had a 5-figure refund when last year they owed maybe 4 figures, right? So they owed like a couple $1,000s or something. And the reason why they were able to get this big refund is because they fell into the categories that allowed them to be able to get the refund. And the categories, because of law changes, were around the SALT. So if you don't know what SALT is like your state, your property tax, your state and local taxes, basically, is what it stands for. And so things like your property taxes, your local tax, like your state taxes, those types of things, which has been for several years now maxed out at $10,000 a year, has now gone up to $40,000 for most people under, I think it's under 500,000. If you make less than 500,000, I believe you can get, don't quote me on that $500,000 number, but what I do know is you can get up to $40,000 now instead of the 10, for if you fall into that category. And most people do fall into this category. So for those individuals, like in the case of the client that I had recently, they had they had about $40,000 in additional expenses that they were not able to take in prior years. So they were able to get that plus their mortgage interest and other things that go on to the Schedule A. So their itemized deductions went up considerably. As a result, they got a big refund back because they overpaid by a lot. If it's not a situation like that where there's been a law change, such as the SALT changes, and that's where I find most people are benefiting if they had a lot of property tax. Like I'm in the state of New York and I'm from New Jersey. I have a house both in New Jersey and in New York. And the one thing I can tell you is our property taxes are high. I was way over the $10,000 annual allotment. So this change will help me tremendously. If it's not a situation like that, but they are saying, but you're getting a big refund, you need to question why you're getting the refund, because a large refund, not knowing where it's coming from, means they're likely putting something fraudulent on your return. And I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of people say, oh, I didn't know they were doing something illegal. I didn't know anything about that. In reality, some of y'all be knowing. I'm going to say it again. In reality, some of y'all be knowing. Some of y'all know it is fraud, but y'all just want to get a big refund. You want to be able to take a lot home. You can use that money. And here's the thing. All of us can use money, right? But the IRS is going to find it. They are going to find it. They are cracking down on that stuff. So they're going to find it. And when they do, you're going to owe all that money back plus huge penalties and interest. And so it ends up being a considerable amount more than what you saved. To give you an example, I have one of my students who I teach resolution work. And so one of my students came to me recently, and one of the things they were telling me was a client that they have got a refund. It was a refund for $25,000. I don't think it was this year. I don't think it was for 2025. It was for 2024, I believe. They got a refund for 2024 of about $25,000. Most of that money didn't even go to them. It went to the professional. That was the first thing. The second thing is, even though most of that money went to the professional, the IRS found it. And now that person owes somewhere around, I think, 50 to 60,000. So about double because of penalties, interest, and everything else that ended up getting added. So it's not worth it to do those things. And here's the thing. The IRS also knows that you turned a blind eye. So it's also hard to get out of some of those situations and say, oh, you know what? I didn't really actually know this. I didn't know that. And so I'm not responsible. That argument is a hard one to come by, right? So, and win and be successful with the IRS. So if you have somebody who's giving you a big refund, you don't know where that big refund came from, you want to question that as well. So those are the 4 things I would say you want to look for. If someone's constantly talk about refund, how they can maximize your refunds, so they're very refund focused, if they get a percentage of your refund, if you don't see their signature at the bottom of the 1040, or if it's somebody who completed your return and you got a larger refund than normal and you how you got it is not clear. You're not clear on how you got it. It doesn't make sense. It's not because of a law change. Those are people that you want to stay away from. Okay. And if you find that that's happened to you already, in the last case that I mentioned, like where someone gave you a big refund, first of all, I would not submit it. If you've already submitted it, then you need to do an amendment right away. Do an amendment and get it. That would be my recommendation, because the IRS is going to find it. So what sorts of things then should you be looking for in a preparer? The first thing I want you to be looking for is reputation. So how do you know them? Do you know anybody who's worked with them before? Maybe you saw them online. I try to steer people away from going to the big companies, because a lot of those big companies don't know tax law. They're doing crazy stuff on people's returns because they're taking on so many clients that they're doing them rapid fire, and they don't really have the time to really look at each person's cases. And some of the people they have working for them just don't know what the heck they're doing. So stay away from the big companies. Try to go with smaller companies who have reputation. Maybe they were referred by somebody who was referred by somebody, something like that. Watching them online, seeing that they have expertise, seeing that they have certain credentials, such as an enrolled agent, a CPA. But I will even tell you, even then, I see people mess up on returns for clients, CPAs, EAs, things like that. So try to see if you know somebody who's been working with someone for a while, who has a good reputation, who is someone who's knowledgeable, who's been doing this a long time, who does continuing education in the area of tax. And so look for something like that. The second thing I would say is engagement letters. So anybody you work with should be giving you some sort of engagement letter, and you want to make sure that you understand the terms. So read over the term sheet of that engagement letter, what is included, what's not. One of the things we include in our engagement letters is we will do the return, but if for some reason there is an error on the return, like if we missed something. Now, this is not the same as you forgot to give us something. This is we missed something. So if we miss something on a return and we have to go back and fix that because we missed something, or we made an error, or we put a wrong number in or something like that, or transpose something, we take responsibility for that. And as a result, we will fix it for free. So we don't charge you to fix it. That's one of the things that we do with our clients. So definitely be looking for engagement letters as well. What is in those engagement letters? Make sure it's clear. Make sure the pricing is clear. It shouldn't be a percentage of what you make or anything like that. It should be clear, like this is what we're going to charge. Please also understand, when I'm saying clear, that doesn't mean there's a problem if in the engagement letter, or if they tell you, hey, this is what the price point is going to be, but if we find anything outside the scope of this, once we start the work, we will increase the price. That is normal. So if you tell somebody you have, certain items for the return, and they priced you according to that, and then you come back and say, oh yeah, I forgot these other things, and you give them additional things, or you give them additional papers that you didn't tell them about, so they didn't include it in the pricing, well, they're going to change. They should, because that's outside the scope of what you guys agreed upon. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying clear pricing in terms of like, this is what the price is going to be based on whatever we talked about. And it's not a situation where it's like, this is a percentage of what you're going to save or something like that. We don't want that. So you also want to make sure that there's a clear process with that. So when they're outlining what the engagement letter is, what the process is, you're clear on the process and what that's going to look like for you, timing, things like that. Also, understand timing is going to change if you don't include certain documents or certain information. So if you complete the organizer, if you have an organizer, for those who don't know what an organizer is, it basically helps to organize all your documents. So when we go to do the return, we have everything we need. We know if you get a refund, if you want it deposited, what account it should go into, your socials, your kids' socials, how many dependents you have. Like all that information is usually in an organizer. But if you don't answer all the questions and then we have to deal with that part of the return, well, guess what? We're going to have to stop what we're doing, address it with you, and then go back. So that's going to affect the timeline. It can also affect what they're going to charge. So make sure you have all that information into the person that you're going to work with so that they can keep moving forward and not stop. And they can also give you clear pricing up front. Now, I am not saying just because they have years of experience that they're going to have all the answers, they're going to do everything right. I'm not saying that either, because there are people who've been doing this for a long time who be messing up. In fact, I am somebody who does this, but I do more resolution work and I do more planning work. So I don't do a lot of prep work. I do some simple prep. I do some business prep, but I don't do like really complex stuff. So just because they have years of experience does not mean that they are an expert, but try and find somebody who does have some years of experience, who's been doing this a while, someone who's credentialed like an EA or CPA. Those are all things that will help mitigate your risk. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is the IRS. On the IRS website, you can actually go to the IRS website and look for preparers in your area, and they will come up. So like their enrolled agents and things like that, you will be able to find on the website. So if you've never done that and you just absolutely don't know where to go, that is a great place to go. So that would be the fourth thing that I would say. So again, we want to look for reputation. Is it someone who's a referral? Engagement letters, make sure the terms are clear, make sure the pricing is clear, make sure the process is clear. Number 3, look for years of experience, credentials such as an EA or CPA. And number 4, you can also go to the IRS website. Now, if you're still like, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do, I still need help and I need to get this done, listen, I'll be happy to assist you. We are close to the deadline. So at this point, if you come to me, you're definitely going on extension. Even though you won't have failure to file penalties if you go on extension, but if you owe a balance, you're going to still get failure to pay penalty, which means you didn't pay the full balance by that April 15th date. You can even get failure to pay penalties in your state if you do owe at the end of the year and you didn't make estimated payments throughout the year. So depending on the state that you're in. But I'm saying all that to say, if you come to me, you will be on extension for sure, but I can make sure that you get your extension in, which is going to lower the penalties that you're going to owe, and hopefully you don't owe a balance. And if you do, you can go ahead and get that paid. So I will be happy to help you, and we can hop on a quick call and I can go over what it is that you need to know. So you can click on the link that's in the comments below, and that will allow you to be able to book a call with me so that we can get you on extension. All right, so that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I will see you next time in our next lesson.